compliance or innovation, one protects, the other propels. But in today's high-stakes digital economy, can CIOs really afford to choose one over the other? In this episode of ETCIO presents ET Studios, Digital Compass Season 3 powered by Kyndryl, we explore how tech leaders are balancing control with creativity without compromising on either. We're joined in for this session by Anuj Vaid, VP Strategic Business at Kyndryl India, and Ramesh Narasamy, CTO at Aditya Birla Capital. And thank you, gentlemen, for joining us for this particular session. We are at the ETCIO Annual Conclave 2025. Let's start with a classic dilemma. It's an icebreaker. Even our audiences want to know, when was the last time your innovation had to suffer because of a compliance checkbox? Maybe we'll start with you.
No, I think. See, innovation and compliance are two sides of the same coin for a regulated industry. Okay, I don't think innovation has suffered. What could be there could be a timing issue, because at the end of the day, since being in trust business, it is important that we comply,
Yeah.
and then innovate, right? Because if you don't comply, there is nothing to innovate.
Yeah.
I think it's a dilemma. We saw it quite well in financial services.
All right. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. As Ramesh said, it's a dilemma that we have to live with. It is extremely critical that the foundation is right, irrespective of whether it's a regulatory requirement or not. Because you're building, as Ramesh said, on trust. As an organization, that's a critical need, right? So they go together all the time. There will be peaks and troughs, right? At times there'll be higher focus on compliance. At times there'll be a thrust on innovation, but they go along.
All right, perfect. Anuj, let's get you in for the next question as well. You've been speaking to a lot of enterprises, a lot of CIOs. Apparently, what are CIOs preferring at this point in time? I mean, more agility over controls or controls over agility?
There are multiple trends out, such as agentic AI, that is driving a rethink around business. The innovation journey is a constant, outside in action that is happening where, the front end of the organization is sensing what the customers are asking for, their customers are asking for, and bringing that case inside. And then the engine has to come together to innovate, right? So that's a constant journey. It's not going to stop. And with the global ambitions that Indian customers have, right, that is only going to accelerate.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Rightly said, and bringing you, Ramesh sir, in as well. See, when we started this conversation, you said that it's a dilemma. It's a classic dilemma for all of us. But just let's get a bit deeper into this conversation. When we talk about compliance, in your view, a strong compliance framework fuels innovation, or is it limiting it?
So we have to look at it in two ways, right? Innovation at a transaction level, okay, is what a customer really likes, right? So you do something very fast, very quick. You reduce friction.
Absolutely.
That is something the customer loves it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that way, if you see in an e-commerce company or when you do shopping, right, the height of innovation is very, very high.
Hi. Yeah.
And what happens when you do to the financial services, or for example, healthcare, or for an airline industry? It is not a single transaction, right?
Yeah.
Because the transaction is a part of something larger,
Larger.
which the customer might not be aware of, right? So hence it is a duty of the organization to ensure that all those things are taken care, because we create systemic risk,
Yeah.
right? I mean, healthcare would be great, right? If someone implements a piece of software which say predicts, or which takes care of my BP and heart rate, if that is wrong, because your diagnosis is going to be wrong, that means your medical is going to be wrong. Same thing in financial services.
Yeah.
If your credit score is wrong, then you're going to give a loan to someone who doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
So I think that distinction we have to make. I think where people get confused is what is to the customer and what is to the organization. Once you explain that part of why you are doing to the customer will accept it. In fact, I feel the customer will demand more of it, because sometimes the customer does not understand the nuances
Yeah.
of it, right?
Absolutely.
But where the challenge also comes is that we are seeing a lot of fintechs which have emerged, right? They have given the ability to do a lot of things very faster. So I think where the organization they need to become more agile, irrespective of compliance or innovation. They need to find a mechanism to do fast. That means people should just have interest to do it quickly. Once you solve it, I think this dilemma gets resolved.
All right. Thank you so much for that answer, and picking from your answer as well and bringing to you, Anuj. We are currently in a high stakes environment, right? Everything is at high stakes. Do you think that CIOs, you've been talking to a lot of them, do you think that CIOs can really afford to choose one over other?
Yeah, so again, at this point of time, given the socio-economic, the, you know, c- inter-country conflicts, etc., right, there is a, heightening of the security posture, the compliance posture. So flying into Goa, suddenly we were supposed to shut the windows down, because we were moving into a defense airport, right? It's a change, that has come into process because of the need of the hour, right? And that is going to keep impacting us in the industry.
But how is Kyndryl coming in to this picture?
So first thing that we look at, how do we observe, an entire customer landscape, right? We have been using technology, AI, to bring in insights from over 4,000 customers that we have globally. And that data set, along with the information shared, whitelisted means by our OEM partners, gives us a fantastic, base of information data, which we can churn to find out what may go wrong in a client environment. And in a predictive, preventive, proactive mode, we try to resolve that, before it becomes an issue, right? So at any point of time, we are able to see the compliance posture. We are able to see, the innovation posture through automation that we are delivering. And that is very helpful to customers, right? Because there is a platform by which you can methodically drive growth on both these fronts, innovation and compliance.
Now, I would like to bring in the AI thing into this picture because let's be honest, AI is now the poster child of the tech industry, the cybersecurity space, the CIO space, right? And everyone is talking about AI. Even I've spoken to a lot of CIOs, and even they say that, it is a part of their boardroom conversation, and the CEO wants to know what we are doing in AI. Well, with AI and automation coming in, and now that we're talking about compliance, Ramesh sir, what are those gray areas are you seeing, and how are you sort of staying ahead of the curve?
Yeah. See, if you really look at it, compliance is common for every organization, whereas innovation is not, right?
Yeah.
Because the organization can deliver a certain piece of service in a different way. So, what this AI dimension has brought in is to do that part which is common across all organizations in a much faster way, right?
Yeah.
So, if someone has done, compliant in a particular way, like what Anuj said, we can very quickly take that and do it in the same way. There is no need to do that differently, right? I think their automation, agentic AI, has got significant impact because it will allow you to do things faster. Okay? But one thing which we do not know whether that is going to be cheaper. Okay. Now this is the other problem this whole thing has created, right? Agentic AI is real, automation is real, but can it be done at a cost which is acceptable? Because
Yeah.
if by doing it, if your cost goes up,
Yeah.
then which is going to get affected your innovation again?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Because where do we spend that money? That is number one. Second is in terms of what kind of reputational risk it can create when you're using AI. I think that is something which we are working very closely because that is very, very important for us, right? Financial losses sometimes you can recover quite quickly, but reputation losses are very difficult to,
Yeah.
very difficult to recover. So we have to do it right. And third thing is that the amount of data what we have is large, but these are all collected over a period of
Period
time.
of time.
So when you try to train your models, we have to be very careful on that. So that is also something which we are looking at. So our view is that AI and agentic will be very proprietary to the organization because of the data you start. Then we'll all have to figure out an acceptable cost and acceptable risk to move forward.
No, absolutely. Very right point made here. And I would like to bring your point to Anuj as well. So, when we talk about AI, of course, cost is one thing, right? So, how do you see, do you feel that AI is actually, managing to the hype that it has been created around? Or we are all just buying into the trend, or, we are just a part of the FOMO group that we want to use AI, which is why we are using it.
Yeah, so very apt question. There are two or three vectors, that are at play. One is, of course, there is a hype cycle, and there is a value to the hype cycle as well because it helps accelerate adoption, right? It helps culturally an organization to pass on the same message so that people pick it up. Otherwise, innovation is tough because at times culture can hold it back, right? So the hype cycle helps kill some of the inertia and them, right? So in that sense, extremely critical. Kyndryl did launch a report yesterday called the AI People Readiness Report, right? We went out and on a variety of metrics, quiz people, CIOs, right, across the globe, and we did a benchmarking. Some of it is reflective of the hype cycle there, but clearly it is center stage today in most organizations where, companies are looking to innovate, be more productive and efficient, leveraging agentic AI, right? And yes, we have classical examples where, older skills have been replaced by the newer skills. So really, as Ramesh suggested, there probably will be more done with more people, right, in that sphere, because agentic AI needs deep personalization for organizations to be differentiated.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. No, thank you so much, gentlemen, for answering these questions very candidly. And just before we end the session, what advice would you like to give to the CIOs who themselves are at this crossroads, compliance and innovation? Should they play safe or they push the boundaries? Starting with
No, I just think you have to do both, as I've said, right? There is absolutely, as I said, if you don't comply, then there is no business. So that I think is extremely good. Now people have to see whether there is a different way of doing both compliance and innovation. With a lot of technologies reach steady state, the cloud has reached steady state, mobile has reached steady state,
yeah.
AI is coming. Is there a different way of doing? Ultimately, execution matters, right? I think where we have to spend time is there a different way of solving the problem? Is what I think each CIO or each technology organization should really figure out, and then you go down that path. I think you'll all be successful.
All right, absolutely. Anuj, your closing statement.
Yeah, you said it right. We have to push boundaries, both in innovation and in compliance.
Yeah.
Right? So, if an organization is driving a compliance culture that is a step ahead of what the regulator is asking, you will always be in a good zone. Right? Likewise, innovation, if you're driving ahead rest of the competition, you'll be in a good zone. So, to the point that was made in many sessions here, the CIOs should really be interfacing very well with the business to really figure out, how hard we can push, how much we can expand our boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for this conversation. It's perhaps time to push boundaries without compromising on both, creativity and innovation and compliance. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this session. And to our viewers, stay tuned for many more such interesting discussions only at ET Studios.